Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review here to continue my Friday the 13th reviews. This one is part 6 from 1986, and that is Jason Lives. I have it in this two double feature, whatever thing, two-pack. I don't know, Tupac? What can we call it? Anyway, part 6, Jason Lives, is in this set with part 5. Two of my absolute favorites in one set, dude. How many times can we get two good home runs back-to-back in a franchise? This is a great example of one. So, before I get into the movie, of course, I'm doing a collaboration with two other guys. One in particular started this whole thing, Stranger Grayson. I'll put a link to his channel down in the description in case you want to check out his videos. And the other guy is nicknamed Goosebumps Boy. His channel has a little bit of a longer name. I think it's like Horror Reviews, aka Goosebumps Boy. But I put a link down to his channel as well in my description. Both are great reviewers. I've talked about this in all of my previous videos. I don't need to keep saying it, I guess. But check them out. I really like both of their content a lot. I've been watching these guys. I've been friends with these guys kind of for years now. It's kind of hard to believe that from the Goosebumps community. Anyway, Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives. As I said, it came out in 1986. It's like 3 minutes under an hour and a half long. What happened to movies where we couldn't make movies an hour and a half long or an hour and 20 minutes long? Man, so many films that I've seen in recent years need to be cut down to that extent, to the point where I don't have to sit there for like 3 hours drooling, hoping that the movie will just end sometime soon. I blame a lot of things. I blame books expanding so much on people like Stephen King. I blame movies expanding so much on like the Marvel franchise or something like that. As much as I love many of the early ones and some of the latter ones up to Endgame, and then it just went to shit. But anyway, Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, is typically considered to be the absolute fan favorite of the series. And I'll be honest with you, I love this movie more and more. And the more that I grow up, the more that I get older, the more that my humor and my life and interests change, the more that I love this movie. And it's weird because when I was younger, I liked this movie. It was part of the Friday the 13th films I had seen quite a bit over and over again on AMC Horror Fest. I keep bringing up in all of my Friday reviews. Back in the day, in October, when they would do their little marathons on AMC. And I grew up on this film quite a bit, and I never loved it, though. It was a good flick, it was a funny flick, it was some of the best humor in the series, I remember that being the case. But now I would argue that this is the best, like, top-tier humor in the franchise, right there with Jason X, as goofy and silly and bad as that movie is. And I love it at the same time. The humor there was really good in a different way from what we had here. That was more of a it knew it was bad, and it tried to be really clever about certain things, really fun, make Jason really fun, do some weird sci-fi shit because it was in space. But then this movie, it was like, we're going to take a slasher film, we're going to take Friday the 13th, and we're going to do something very dangerous that Rian Johnson ruined with The Last Jedi. Yeah, I'm going to keep bringing that up all the time on my channel. We're going to subvert expectations. But the thing is, when they did it in this movie, when Tom McLoughlin, who wrote it, directed it, I believe, as well, the guy who, to me, should have had a bigger career than what he ever had, surprisingly. I think this film kind of ruined his career, if I'm being honest with you. But the man is an incredible director, incredible creator. I love this movie so much. And again, the older I get, I think I see more and more passion in his filmmaking style and what he and everybody involved with this film really put into it. This is a great flick. Jason Lives has so much going for it. It's a blast. It's super funny. The jokes and stuff, the quotes, the quotable lines in here. As my boy Horror Free-For-All said in his video that he was talking about Part 5 today on his channel. I was watching a little bit of it before I recorded here. He was talking about how this movie and Part 5 are like the only two that really matter to him in the series. And I get that. A lot of people I talk to that are big Friday fans talk about this movie almost immediately. As I said, it is the fan favorite, so why wouldn't they? It's a great flick, and it's super, again, quotable, super fun to watch. The kills and stuff are great, even if they are heavily censored. This is, to me, aside from Part 5 a lot of the time, but not all the time, this to me feels like the film where a lot of the kills are being censored left and right, and it kind of ruins a lot of the movie in a sad, sad way, because, dude, some of the kills were so good and so funny here, and you almost never get to see the kills on screen. You almost always have to see aftermath, after people have been killed. We cut away from the kill to then show the aftermath later on. And Part 5 was guilty of this too. But Part 4 sure as hell wasn't. That's when things had not been cracked down too much by people like the MPAA and these other censorship bastards. Anyway, Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, essentially follows the final time that we follow Tommy Jarvis, played by, this time, Thom Mathews, who also goes by Thom Mathews. He's great. I really enjoy him in this film. I prefer Corey Feldman, even though it's a kid version of this same character. I prefer Corey Feldman over top of Thom Mathews, but Thom Mathews, when it comes to the guy here that's playing, you know, Tommy, versus in Part 5, the guy that kind of came out of nowhere playing Tommy, I prefer Thom Mathews a lot. I think he's a really good guy in real life and interviews and stuff. He just seems like a very sweet man, and he's fun to watch here. He's kind of locked up in jail most of the time. Where do I even start with this movie? Let's go to the plot, kind of really revolving around Tommy. Tommy and his friend are going out to Jason's gravesite. Of course, this film is basically ignoring Part 5, even though the title is Part 6, and the previous film was Part 5. So it kind of connects, but kind of, I guess, sort of ignores that. We don't really get any kind of conclusion about what happened at the end of Part 5 with Tommy trying to kill Pam, which was crazy shit. Nothing is brought up about Roy ever again. I won't go into that too much, but that's kind of a shame in my opinion. But we ignore all of that, and Tommy, basically, in a soft reboot way, is going to Jason's gravesite with his friend to dig up the grave and make sure Jason's dead, and also to cremate him with some fire. And when he goes to do this with his friend, a very Frankenstein-esque thing happens, according to what Tom McLaughlin had said in interviews and on the Crystal Lake Memories documentary that I watched a while back. It's like 9 hours long. He had said that he wanted to make this a very a very Frankenstein type of thing, and this is the beginning of having Jason become what we now know as Zombie Jason, where he is much stronger now. He can't just like punch you and make you fall over. He will punch your head off. He'll punch your heart through your body, like that kind of stuff. He can break your whole head in half. Like, the dude has these supernatural abilities now, and he physically can't die. Even if you try to, like, shoot him or something, like in previous movies, it ain't gonna hurt the guy. And that is a little wild. A little wild. And Jason is super fun in here. I love the performance. This is not Kane Hodder yet, if I'm remembering correctly. I think he was 7, 8, 9, and 10. Yeah, so this is somebody else. But the guy performing here really did a great job. Whoever it is. I don't think it's Kane Hodder, though. Let me look really quick since I have IMDb up here. Who played Jason in this fucking movie? Where are you? Why are you not in the beginning of the credits of this thing? Really? It's not even listed in, like, the very front of the whole IMDb listings. Where are you? Dude, I can't even get, like, an actual name? Are you kidding me? Come on. What is this bullshit? I don't even think they have it listed. Oh, CJ Graham. CJ Graham played Jason this time around, and he did a great job. I really loved his performance. To me, it's probably the best Jason performance of all time, despite what anybody says about Kane Hodder. And some of the previous ones, too, like Ted White, I thought were really good. There's some really good guys out there who played Jason. Derek Mears is my personal favorite, I think, of all time. Look-wise, design-wise, the outfit, the performance itself, how Jason runs. I love all of that in that movie for him. Even though it's a very controversial take, I think Derek Mears is the best Jason for me personally. But anyway, I grew up on him. So, this Jason's great. The look of him is a little weird. I don't like the gardening gloves at all. I don't like it. The outfit looks cool. The mask looks really cool now that we're back to like the one red streak instead of the blue on Part 5. But this is fun. Jason comes back to life when some lightning strikes a pole that Tommy was stabbing his dead body with. And he comes back. He starts going after he and his friend. He kills his friend right in front of Tommy. And then starts going after Tommy. And as he tries to hunt him down, Tommy escapes. And now Jason just kind of wanders around in the woods, confronting random people that just show up. Like, there's one group of people that are having like a business kind of buddy, you know, grow with your coworkers type of exercise by playing paintball out in the woods. And he encounters a bunch of them and just brutally murders all of them in hilarious ways that I love. This is really the best humor, again, in the Friday the 13th series, and really the best that Jason has ever had in his performances. As good as I think Kane Hodder can be a lot of the time, I think this is really the way to go this time around. Super funny, dude. The paintball scene is great. It's really iconic, and the smiley face scene is really iconic, too. If you haven't seen the film, I won't tell you what that is, but the smiley face carved into a tree scene is genius. We need more of that in a Friday the 13th remake, reboot, sequel series, ignoring every film but the first one movie. If we're going to do any of that, we need to do it that way. We need more of that. It's super engaging. People love it. It's a complete antithetical thing to what Halloween Ends and Halloween Kills and all of that we're doing. And that would be great, I think, to take it this approach this time around. So, in this movie, Tommy gets arrested. They think that he might be the one killing all these random people all over the place. And nearby, Camp Crystal Lake actually has kids show up at their camp. So now children are in danger. We actually have kids that aren't just Reggie in Part 5, just living with his grandpa being attacked by Jason. This time around, we actually have a kind of a stakes situation because there are a bunch of kids at Camp Crystal Lake. And when Jason eventually gets there, the kids are in danger, man. They're in a lot of danger, in a lot of kind of scary way, and there's a couple of kids that actually give really good performances, too, for the small amount of time we see them on the screen. Now, the sheriff that runs this place that Tommy gets locked up in, this particular jail, in this particular county, or whatever it is, he has a daughter that's absolutely beautiful. Her name is Megan, probably my second favorite Friday girl, behind Pam from Part 5. This chick is gorgeous, but she's so funny. The performance is so good from her, from Tom Matthews. The chemistry between the two, I really like both of them. I think they work well together. But she just seems like a sweet girl, like a very sweet person, very funny, very, just genuine, I guess is the word I'm looking for. It doesn't seem like, kind of like Debbie Sue Voorhees in Part 5, where it seems like the creepy pervert behind the camera put this woman with enormous boobs on screen and made her get topless and stuff. It's creepy. Part 5 creeps me out as much as I love it, and I love all the sleaze in the movie. It's a little weird, with stuff like that. You feel off as you watch it. But then, like with this movie, they don't really have like any nudity as far as I remember. I don't think there was anything in here, which is interesting. It's an interesting choice. I think it's the first one that ever did that. But then you had Megan, who is just special. She just seems like a very special person, and she really fit the role as Megan, too. I really like her a lot, and again, her chemistry with Tom Matthews really brings the movie to life, because they're constantly on the run if he's not locked in jail most of the film. It has a little bit of Halloween 2 syndrome, with Laurie being locked up in the hospital in a bed most of the time. It has a lot of that going for it, with the hospital being the giant-ass woods that Jason's roaming around killing people. Now, the dad of the film, the sheriff, whatever he is, I really like him. I like his deputy. I think he's really funny, too. They have some great lines. The film in general, like I said, is very quotable, but there's a lot of really great lines from pretty much everybody in the film. This, is the predate to something like The Avengers and Joss Whedon writing style and all of the world that comes around now. Every movie has to feel like fucking Joss Whedon wrote it, and to me, a lot of the time, it just comes across as hack writing. A lot of people want to sound witty and bantery, and it sucks. This is like the all-natural way. You can tell there's a little hint of improv, probably, but also a really good script that knew what they wanted these people to say, and they got the right people to say it, and it worked almost every single time. The performances, for me, are pretty much good from everybody, including the other people who are working at the camp with the daughter, Megan. But Jason goes on a killing spree, as per usual, and a lot of it's off-screen, which is a shame, as I said. But the kills we do see look really good when you get to actually see them. The aftermath of a lot of those kills, the practical effects used for those, are really, really good. I love all of that as well. The look of the film clearly had a bigger budget behind it than Part 5. Not a whole lot more, but clearly more than Part 5. I mean, they're wrecking vehicles, they're setting fire all over the place. There's this really cool kill with a boat's engine, like the blades on the engine. That shit is just great. Every time I watch the film, I love that kill. It has a great build-up to its third act, and the finale, the showdown between Tommy and Jason. And again, this is the last time we ever saw Tommy go down fighting Jason at all. And that was fun. That was tense. You care about Tommy. You care about Tommy even more in this film after seeing him in movies for the last 2 films, the last 3 or so years. You can't help but really root for him here, and Megan too on the side. It's great. I think all the build-up's great. The style, the pacing, especially for this film being an hour and 27 minutes, the pacing is incredible. There isn't a single dull moment in this film. Like I said with Part 5, these 2 movies are the ones that I never tune out a single second as I watch them. I really focus, I stay focused, because of how fun they are to watch, how enjoyable they are to watch. Even the slower moments that would be really bad in a previous 1 through 4 movie, or kind of empty, or kind of just dull for those certain typical by-the-numbers moments in those first 4 films. If one of those were, if this movie had its certain scenes Done like that, it would waste some of the time on this film and make it kind of dull sometimes, really lose the momentum of the movie. But Tom McLoughlin is so talented, he knew not to do that. And that's smart. That's a smart thing. I wish more filmmakers now could do that. I wish more writers for books, again, would not be so influenced by Stephen King and would do more things like that in a very pulp manner. You know, one of the only people I ever see doing it anymore is R.L. Stine, writing Goosebumps books and Fear Street and stuff. But there's too many films and too many books and stuff, as I said, that linger around for too long, very much like my videos here. But I really wish people could learn to cut things down. I wish Hollywood could learn to cut things down. They could make more money if they had an hour-and-a-half long film they had to sell tickets to individually rather than 3 hours of a movie that they have to try to, like, push people to go see that they don't really want to see. Some people are willing to spend or expend an hour and a half on something that they may or may not have wanted to see to begin with that ends up being really nice and tight and just fun. You know, that's all people want is escapism, whether it be for an hour and a half to 2 or 2.5 hours, whatever it be. And movies like this prove that. The pacing on this was so incredible, and I just wish we had more Friday the 13th films that were like this. Not many after this come close to this. I like Part 7 a lot compared to most people, but from that point onward, all the way up to like Jason X, you don't really have this kind of humor. And I think Jason X realized that and decided to make it more like Part 6, which is a good thing. I think it benefits that movie, as a matter of fact. But I already talked about the practical effects. The look of the film, as I said, is just beautiful. The directing style, the camera work, all of that is just damn good. The jokes are great in here. You never really had much humor that worked for me in previous films, but this one really hits the home run constantly on that for me. The music here. Let's talk about the big old theme song. Of course, I believe Harry Manfredini came back to do the music again. That basic Friday the 13th theme song I keep talking about, the theme music with the violins, the cellos, and all of that. Since it's not a slow-paced film almost ever, you don't really have that style that you had in 1 through 5, of the music being very kind of suspense-building, if you will. You don't really have a whole lot of that. You actually have, like, soundtrack music in here from the 80s, and it is fantastic. Every time that it shows up, it's really, really engaging, and it really enhances that 1986 feel, that 80s feeling and tone of this movie. I love that about it. It's almost like halfway through the 80s, a lot of people realize, like, this is a time like no other. We have to make everything special, and the music can really do that with a lot of our movies. And it really did that. You can tell a lot of the time when you're watching something that it came from the 80s. You can tell. And it's usually better, whether it comes to the writing or the music, soundtracks, anything like that. You can usually tell this is a great example. The big theme song hit that was tied to this movie was basically Alice Cooper making The Man Behind the Mask. And I love this song. I've listened to it forever. I thought back in the day that it was just a random song he made in tribute to Friday the 13th. No, this is like a thing to celebrate this film. It was on the soundtrack and stuff for Jason Lives, which was crazy to me. And it makes it better and better every time I watch it. It's just a great song. It's in it a couple of times, but the other soundtrack music they picked in here sporadically for different scenes, like the RV scene, for example. The music is good. I like it a lot. I think it managed... Somebody's mowing the fucking grass. Are you kidding me? You weren't doing that 15 minutes ago. Anyway, my videos take so long that people start mowing the grass in the middle of them every single time. Gotta love it. Anyway, moving along, the music is great. End all be all, it's fantastic. To me, it's the best music of the entire series. Easily. I don't think anything comes close to how good the music was here, whether it be Manfredini's music, whether it be the soundtrack stuff that I guess either he or somebody else picked out for this movie, maybe Tom McLoughlin, whoever. All of that stuff made this movie so much better. It's just such a great flick all around, and it's constantly rewatchable. That's one thing I want to say, too, that I feel like a lot of people don't hit on. For me, and I said this in some of my previous reviews, I think mainly in Part 5, the first 4 films and a lot of the movies in Friday the 13th, as much as I enjoy most of them, or at least aspects of even the worst ones, a lot of the time, I don't find them very rewatchable, in the sense of I watch them every fucking year, but I mean, like, I could sit down and put the same movie on that I just watched last week over again. Part 5 and Part 6 are like that for me. Part 6 is extremely rewatchable, and to me, I think it's the best quality-wise of all of these movies. It's perfect for what it's trying to do, but I don't think it's, like, the most amazing thing I've ever seen. So I'm a little cautious about how I'm going to rate this video, or this review, in a moment. But It's extremely rewatchable, and all of the quoting and everything else just makes it better and better. Things like where the red dot goes, you bang. I love stuff like that. It's great. It makes this film, you look forward to those moments, you know, and that's kind of nice. It's something different I don't really have in many movies. There are good quotable movies out there like The Crow, for example, or Clerks, but this really, as a horror project, as a slasher movie, this thing is fucking distracting me. I'm so sorry with this lawn mowing bullshit. This movie as a slasher film, being so clever the way it is surprising, to say the least. But I love it. I love it to death. I think it's so well done, and I recommend it to every single person out there, even if you're not a Friday the 13th fan, but you've seen, like, aspects. You know who Jason Voorhees is. You know, like, the general formula of a slasher film, or particularly a summertime Friday the 13th movie, with the camp setting and all of that. If you know the basics and you really don't care, but you want a good movie, I recommend what Chris Stuckman said once upon a time. Check this movie out. Part 5 is incredible, but it's not like a Jason Voorhees movie, so it's a little bit different than what people expect. It's very controversial for that reason. But watch this one, Part 6. Again, I'm going to say it again. I never felt this way most of my life until the last year or so, but I think this might be the best of all of them. It's very easily, possibly, the best of all of these movies. In quality, in filmmaking, in passion, in writing, in not so much, I guess budget possibly too, but because of the censorship stuff, it kind of ruins that a little bit. But for the most part, it's a class act. It's absolutely a class act. It's so well done, and it doesn't, the fact that it subverts expectations in a good way, a way that should be done, that asshats like Rian Johnson use that excuse to make a bad movie, to piss fans off, to ruin everything for people. But this was a great example of Tom McLoughlin doing that the correct way. You know? I love it. I love it so much, and it just gets better and better every time I watch it. Again, I think I even like this more than Part 5. Part 5 for a long time was my favorite. I know that's a controversial statement too. I think I forgot to mention that in my review, but for the longest time that was my favorite movie of the series, and I watched it over and over again for the last probably the last 5 or 6 years. For a long time there, it was just that movie for me, all the time. But this one, I think, is slowly turning into that. I think it's slowly, not yet, but slowly getting to the point where I think it is my favorite, personally. Because again, the older I get, the humor in here, something clicked at one point. Even though I had seen this film a billion times and loved it every single time, or liked it a whole lot every single time back when I was younger, at some point, something clicked in the last year or so that made me say, you know, this is a really damn good movie. This is a lot better in filmmaking aspects and writing and acting even than what people give it credit for, even though it is the fan favorite. But I mean people outside of the Friday fans. People are coming around to it a lot, and people are really enjoying it for how fun it is. And I wish more movies knew how to do that. Terrifier 1 and 2 are a great example of movies that know how to have fun. Damien Leone did a great job creating what he thought would be fun with those movies. Tom McLoughlin did that here. If you love one, you'll probably love the other two, even though Terrifier's a lot more mean-spirited. But this is more of dark levity, I guess is what I would call it, with Friday 6. It's kind of like a dark levity, you know? You feel bad sometimes for laughing at shit, but you also don't, you know? Whereas in Terrifier, you laugh at awful, horrible things happening to people, and you're like, I probably shouldn't have laughed about that, you know? Anyway, Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives. What do you guys think about this incredible sequel? What do you think about the series overall? I'd love to hear your thoughts and comments down below. What do you think about the movies? It's sad to say, because like I said before in my previous reviews, I think Part 4, of course, with the title being the final chapter, it was supposed to be the end of the series, but if we had ended there, we would have never gotten Part 5 and Part 6, which to me are like the best of the best, you know? That's sad, because these are great. These are really great, and this double pack here is great too, even though it's on DVD. Has some special features and stuff too, which is nice. I think there's commentaries, all kinds of cool stuff. But anyway, 2 great movies, really love them. Jason Lives, you should check it out if you haven't seen it. If I had to rate this film on a 5-star basis, the only flaws I see in it are the censorship issue for the kills. Outside of that, it's pretty much perfect. I don't think it deserves like a perfect rating. I know that sounds controversial too after everything I said, how I used the word love and everything else. For me, it doesn't hit like a 5 out of 5 stars. It's perfect for what it wants to be. I don't think it's like a perfect movie. I know how that sounds. It sounds kind of shitty for me to put it that way, but it's true. But I admire everything about it. I do. If I had to rate it on a 5-star basis though, genuinely, I think I'd give it a 4 out of 5 stars. like a really high 4 out of 5. If the kills were on screen, which I don't blame Tom for this, I don't blame anybody but the MPAA for this, if those kills had been on screen, and I'm sure there's like the Crystal Lake Memories documentary that probably has the expanded stuff. It's been so long since I watched it, I don't know if they had the expanded kills or anything shown in that documentary, but if they have, I will talk about that there, you know. But I wish that those things were on screen. I wish the more clearly expanded kills, like the breaking back scene, I think should have been in this. Extremely. Like the whole thing, you know? But that kind of censoring of certain things kind of ruins it in some ways, which is sad, in my opinion. Because it kind of ruins my opinion of it just a little bit. It kind of puts a little bit of bias on there because I think this film was clearly created to have a lot more blood in it than what we actually saw in the theatrical cut, which is what I'm talking about. It's a shame, but to me, I can't give it more than a 4 out of 5. That's controversial probably too, but I've acknowledged I think it is the best of the series. It's phenomenal. It's really good, it's really engaging, and it's really fun. And it knows how to keep going with its momentum and its pacing and all of that. Anyway, I'm not going to keep repeating myself, even though I do that typically in these reviews. I need to get better about that, but I can't help it, dude. I love movies, and I love Friday the 13th, so fuck you. Anyway, thank you all for watching. What are your thoughts on Part 6? Put them down below. Thank you guys, and God bless you guys, and goodbye.